So please make yourself comfortable. And maybe that is a seated position, a cross-legged position, maybe your knees and back. Want you to be on your back to begin practice. So always, always listening to your body. And we might take a few moments to settle in, to let the eyes rest. Welcoming ourselves to our practice. Beginning to observe and connect with our breath. We may find ourselves taking deeper inhalations through the nose. In these first few rounds, perhaps we're sighing the breath audibly out. As it becomes comfortable, we may be continuing to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Perhaps adding in movement into our fingers, mobilizing toes. And let's bend the left elbow, and I'll be mirroring. Let that left hand rest on the upper right side of the chest, starting to turn the head to the left as we glide the arm over to the left, looking left, bringing movement into fingers, possibly nodding the head. We might start to circle that left wrist, rotating, go the other way, and then gather the hand back in. Let's rest with palm face up. Full inhale. Long, slow exhale. Giving ourselves a little time to notice how that may feel, how that movement may feel within. Starting to place that second hand, perhaps right hand, on the upper left side of the chest. And as you feel ready, sliding the hand over to the right, turning the chin to follow the thumb. And perhaps we're bringing movement into the fingers. And we may be circling the wrist. Perhaps we're finding a little movement and nod of the head. Just take it slow, noticing how the body is responding. And sliding the hand back in, perhaps resting palms face up. Feel the shape change with the inhalation. Perhaps sighing with the exhalation. The chin may dip towards the chest. We may nod the head. We may lean the head to one side. And perhaps we're exploring very gentle movement. Let the chin roll to center. Second ear moving towards second shoulder. And you might be holding still. We may be nodding the head. And let the chin roll back to the center of the chest. Spin the palms to face down, shoulders forward, shoulders rising, shoulders rolling down and back. Give the toes a little wiggle, and whichever leg you have in front, on top, whichever leg it's easiest to do this with, slide it long while you bend the other knee. So one knee is pointing up to the ceiling, that other leg we're pressing out and down through the heel. And if that's a little too intense in the back of the leg, just soften the ankle. Go back and forth with a pointing and flexing of the foot. I'm talking with my hand too, because I don't think my foot is as visible. And then let's slide the leg in, trading the cross of the legs if you happen to be seated. And we might just wobble those butt bones, those sits bones back, spin the palms forward. And let's bring that left arm out. So the palm may be facing up, but how does that feel for your shoulder? Maybe we spin the palm forward and go a little higher and try again. Palm face up. Does that feel better? Maybe, maybe not. You can always drop it down. You can spin the palm forward. We may take that arm higher and we might have elbow bend. Breathing, noticing, observing. And let's release the arm down. Invite the shoulder to roll. And then let's pause and roll the shoulder in the second direction. And let's turn the chin now in the opposite direction. I said chin, I tap my nose. So whatever shoulder you were just rolling, you're turning your head away, but we might add the nod back in. Now the shoulders are staying straight ahead. Perhaps we tilt the chin down, down, down. And slowly bring ourselves back to center. So give yourself a moment. Give the body time to notice any ripples. And then that second arm, we're taking that second arm out to the side and we're exploring rotating the palm to face up. How does that feel on this side? So we might drop the arm, palm forward. We may raise the arm up a little higher, spin the palm to face up so the shoulders rolling back. Full breathing. Maybe we take another little rest. Maybe you're feeling ready to bring that arm higher. But again, it doesn't have to be completely straight. We might go for more of an elbow bend. If we always do it one way, we might change it up a little bit today. Just take your time, see what feels right for you. And then releasing. Let that arm come all the way down. When you feel ready, let the shoulder roll. And reverse, go the other way, rolling second direction. And let's land, slide the head back, and let the nose tip turn to the opposite side. So maybe this is your left side, and we might just find a spot where we pause, shoulders stay forward. We're breathing, perhaps the chin dips down towards the chest. Maybe we add nods back in because it feels good. Crown of the head high, nose tip back to center, both arms wide, fingers mobilizing. Maybe a little movement in the head. Let the arms rise. Now the elbows may bend, the palms may touch. Press out through the hands, let the arms cycle all the way down and forward, like you're holding a beach ball in front of yourself. Pull the arms back wide, let the arms rise, the gaze may rise. Let's bring the hands back down, gather that beach ball in front of yourself. And then let's spin the palms to face down. Slide the arms forward. Let the arms rise so the palms are facing forward. This may feel a little different in the shoulders and the back. We might move the fingers, we may move the head. But let's press the hands back out and sweep the hands in. Let the hands rest, let the eyes rest. Feeling shape change with the breath. Noticing those subtle internal shifts. Maybe they're not so subtle. We might grab a couple of props. We may lean back and take that second leg, maybe top leg, reach it long. The other knee is bending. Now we may be overextending that straight leg, and we may be pointing and flexing straight leg foot. So mobilizing from the ankle. We might throw in some ankle circles, ankle rotations, whatever feels right for your body. And then slide that leg back in. And let's scooch so that we're coming down onto our back body. If you have a block nearby, maybe have it within hand's reach, and you could also have a strap nearby. So when you come down onto your back body, if you situated a ponytail kind of in the center back of your head, you may want to just shift it, move it out of the way for now. And invite both knees into the chest and notice if there's an ankle cross. Completely fine if there is, just acknowledge right or left ankle on top. Give the hips a little rock, side to side. So massaging the low back, we might circle the knees, circle second direction, pause, trade the cross of the ankles. So second ankle on top. We might return to that side to side sway of the legs. There may be a little movement of the head. Now we might be circling the knees, but maybe those lower legs are lifting and lowering and circling as well. Trade directions. And then let's land the feet on the ground, feet wide. Let the knees roll in, so the knees may be holding one another up. We may be audibly sighing. We may be releasing the backs of the hands to the ground. Let the eyes rest. Let the knees separate. Carefully slide your right leg long. So just careful, water bottles, other props, slide the second leg long. So we're in a brief Shavasana position. Let the legs rock. So we're rocking on the heels. And then pause. Let everything settle. Full inhale. We may audibly sigh. Beginning to slide the heels in towards one another. So let the feet sweep in. Bending the elbows, let the arms slide up and overhead, perhaps hooking the thumbs. So palms may be facing up. We might be strumming, curling our fingers in the air. And then take a moment, separate the thumbs, let the elbows bend. Encircle the left wrist or left forearm with the right hand. Slide the right foot a little more to the right. And the left leg may follow. So you're doing a side bend to the right. You can back off both legs. It doesn't have to be a super huge side bend. We might enhance it by lengthening that left arm over to the right, letting the crown of the head roll to the right. Perhaps exploring those audible exhalations. Let the elbows bend, rebounding gently to center. Slide the legs back to a more neutral Shavasana shape. Give a little rock to the heels, pausing, resting, noticing how the nervous system is responding. Let's swap the grip. So you're encircling right wrist with the left fingers. Slide the left heel perhaps a little more left. Let the right heel follow. So the legs may be together. And if that already feels like more tension than you really want right now, just back it off a little. We may start to reach that right arm up and over to the left. The chin may roll to the left. And maybe now we explore the legs, moving a little further left. Rebounding back to center, give the heels a rock, head at center, pausing. Just take your time, start to slide the little toe side of that right foot up. Think of tree pose, but you're on your back. So maybe you reach down and grab the block and put it underneath the knee or underneath the thigh if this is more intense than you want at this moment. We may rest right here. We may close the eyes, giving the body time to settle, giving yourself time to observe and notice. We may notice the felt sense of tension or stretch in the inner thigh, maybe around the hip. We may notice the rhythms within. perhaps the rhythm of your pulse. And take a moment to encircle that left wrist, reach up long through the left arm again. And this might be plenty. We might get a little more active and spin the left toes to point up to the ceiling. We may lift the shoulders and find even more side lean, side bend over to the right. Softly finding our way back to center. Let that right leg slide long. Give the legs a little wobble rock. And perhaps, possibly, we slide that right foot a little more right. The left leg may follow. We might stack the left ankle on top of right. We might hold that left wrist and enhance the side lean even more right. Breathing down left side body, around left shoulder. And very gently finding our way back to center. Unhook the legs. Give the legs a little wobble rock. And as you feel ready, slide that left little toe side of the foot up and in. We may be heel toeing left foot closer to the right thigh, just a possibility. We may grab a block and slide it underneath that left knee, left thigh. We may bend the elbows quite a bit. Let the eyes rest. Let that right leg, right ankle loll. Let the body sigh. Back body heavy, rooted. Front body perhaps light, rising. We may notice sensations around the left hip, left thigh. We may notice sensations throughout the body. We may start to roll those right toes to point up to the ceiling, pressing down more actively through the right heel. We may encircle the right wrist, reach up long, and as we exhale, side bending over to the right. The chin may roll to the right. And actually you're side bending to the left, but we are lengthening the right side body. Bending the elbows, finding our way back to center. There is no hurry. Sliding left leg long. We may give the legs a rock. The right leg may slide over closer to the left. Maybe we take that left leg even more left. We may hook the right ankle on top of the left and reach that right arm back to the left. So again, lengthening right side body. And gently releasing, finding our way back to center. Unhook the feet. Slide that right foot up and in. Slide the left foot up and in. Navigate, heel toe the feet so that the soles of the feet may be connected. Perhaps we're sliding props. It could be rolled towels. It may be yoga blocks. Underneath the knees, underneath the thighs. It can get pretty intense in the thighs. The arms may stay overhead. We may keep bend in elbows, encircling left wrist, creating the action of moving the elbows away from one another while the backs of the arms remain connected to the ground. Soften that pulling action. Switch the grip of the wrists. If and when you're ready, draw the elbows away from one another. Shoulders grounded, head grounded. Softening, releasing. Heel, toe, feet wide. Let the knees point back up to the ceiling. Notice how the low back is responding. Let the knees gradually move in towards one another. If you need a little less distance between the feet, heel toe the feet in. Separate the knees, lift the hips, lengthen the low back. Place the right foot on the floor, right under the right hip, and let's rock that left knee into the chest. Start to reach the left foot up to the ceiling, flexing and pointing. Push up through the heel, then through the toes. Going back and forth. Start to circle the ankle around. Go the other way. And then let the knee bend and let that lower leg find some rotations in the air. Go the other way, move in second direction. And then consider crossing the left leg somewhere on top of the right leg. So this is not your deepest figure four position necessarily. We might step the right foot in and just find a little rock, a little sway of the hips towards the right and back towards the left. We may play with dropping the thighs a little more left and peeling the right heel off the ground. It doesn't have to be a long hold. It might just be a little rock side to side. But we may begin to linger. So we're pressing into the right toes. The right heel is rising. So we might have quite a bit of stretch in the right toes. And again, it doesn't have to be a super long hold. You're always listening to what feels right for your body. Now your nose might be going opposite the legs. So if and when you choose to linger with thighs, knees to the left, nose to the right, then let's gradually move it back towards center, re-extend that leg, reach that leg up in the air, and imagine pedaling a bike, sort of. You're going to really exaggerate pushing up through the heel and then reaching that heel as though it's coming down to the ground. But instead of doing that, now point the foot and pull the knee back into the chest. And we might find a little rock, get that knee in even closer. Let the toes rise, push up through the heel, and then press down and out without touching the heel down perhaps. Point the foot. Now this time, turn the knee out more to the left. You're still bending the knee, you're pulling it up. Start to reach that leg up. Push up through the heel, reach that leg wide and low to the left. Point the foot. Careful if you're running into furniture or the wall like I am. Pulling that knee back into the chest. Let's wobble rock. Bring that leg back in and consider crossing left leg on top of the right. And this time we might linger a little more to the right. So it might just be a very gentle shift side to side. It doesn't have to be particularly deep. You might be dropping a little closer to the ground. Your back might be saying, I do not need that much rotation right now. So it might just be a little rock. Let's raise the leg, release, step the feet wide. Let the knees tip in. The body may sigh. Let the eyes rest so that we can cultivate the inner vision, our inner awareness. Heel, toe, feet back in. And let's start to rock that second leg in. So right leg, find a little movement through the hips, side to side. It doesn't have to be a whole lot, but it might be larger movement as we continue to move. Let's reach that leg up in the air. How are the hamstrings feeling? Maybe we want more bend in the knee. Push up through the heel, point up through the toes. Heel, toe. Maybe there's a little nod of the head, but we're keeping the back of the head on the ground, beginning to circle the ankle around. Go the other way, circle ankle in second direction. How's that leg doing? We may bend the knee, starting to circle from the lower leg. And then reverse, circle second direction. Listening to what feels best in your body. Find those little rocks side to side. And let's think about crossing that right leg in some way on top of the left leg. And the movement really doesn't have to be very large. We're just exploring. We're checking in with this side. We may rock the hips, the thighs a little side to side. Now we may start to move a little more to the right with the thighs. And again, it doesn't have to be a long hold, but you may be pressing through those left toes and peeling the left heel up. We'll bring it back to center, finding those rocks with the hips. Now maybe we again peel that left heel up and let the knees move more right. The chin may be moving a little more left. We might try those head nods. And again, it does not have to be a super long hold. You can rock back and forth and then explore it again. Perhaps rolling the head away from the thighs. Now let's slowly rock our way back to center, feeling that weight shift from big toe side, little toe side of the down foot. Let's move that left leg back into the chest, letting that left leg rise, push up through the heel. We might give a little wiggle to the hips. Start to extend that leg. We're lowering the heel without touching it down. When we're as low as we can without touching the heel down, point the foot, bend the knee. Rock that knee into the chest. So we're pulling it in, but maybe we rock like there's a little, we just give a little rock. Maybe we can get it even tighter, even closer to the chest. Let the toes reach up. Push up through the heel. Reach down, 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 and out through the heel. Point the foot. Draw that leg back in. And as we rise, we might be widening that leg out to the left. Point the foot. Pull that knee in. So going kind of really strangely wide, as much as you have space for, as much as feels comfortable for you, and we're watching out for any items we have nearby. And eventually, let's again cross that right leg on top of the left. We're exploring those rocks, but this time, if we are going to linger, let's linger to the left. So the knees may drop a little more left. They do not have to go all the way down. And if it's very difficult to resist that, put a wedge there. Put a pillow, a stack of blankets, anything that might support those knees. And we may just stick with that rocking a little side to side, let the knees tip. When you feel ready, we'll start to gradually, slowly move back to center, extend the leg, let the foot land, take the feet wide, and perhaps the knees are again tipping in. We may hook those thumbs, we may grab the left wrist and lengthen left hip, let the knees drop to the right. So we're pulling left arm, left wrist a little more right, the chin may roll to the right, both knees are dropping right. The knees are akimbo. So the legs may feel like a pinwheel. Let's bend the elbows, let the knees rebound to center, and we might just find a leisurely windshield wiper motion through the hips, through the knees. Perhaps the head is moving too. So let's begin to rock it to center. Now we may hook the thumbs, we may reach the arms overhead and strum the fingers. We may encircle that right wrist with the left hand. letting the knees start to fall towards the left. Now we might need to check in and reset. So that might mean just little adjustments, adjusting the location of the feet. We may be finding a spot where we settle and continue lengthening up through that right arm. And perhaps we're reaching down through that right hip where we are definitely not keeping the right butt cheek on the ground. We're not trying to roll the hip or that right glute back to the ground. Observe the right knee. Make sure it's not discontent. Let the elbows bend and let's rock back towards center. So as we find center, press into the feet, let the hips rise, traction the back. As the hips land, draw the arms, the elbows down alongside the ribs. Give yourself a moment. Heel, toe, feet about hips distance. How does your back feel? Your knees? You can adjust where your feet are. So we may keep the feet as they are, hug the shoulders, the upper arms, the elbows down, fan the toes, and let the hips curl up. Let the hips rise. Let the head be centered. So you're not craning your head to look at your device. If your device is on the ceiling, perfect, nose tip, just straight up. Close your eyes even. Traction the back, lengthening down. Let the hips land. Let's repeat. Pressing into the elbows, fan the toes, let the hips rise. We're gently hugging inner thighs in. We're breathing. Even though we're holding the pose, we're not holding the breath. Let's land the hips and now lift the feet and take them wide. So let's try this with feet wider, toes a little turned out. Press down into the elbows, into the shoulders. Checking in, how does this feel different? Where does it feel different for you? And of course, you can come down and change if this variation is just a no. And then go ahead and release down. We may step or we may heel toe the feet all the way together. We might hug the knees together, press down into those elbows, into the shoulders, let the hips rise. And gradually releasing. Let the hips come back down to the ground. Draw the right leg in. Let that right leg rise. Press up through the heel. And this time we are taking the heel all the way down. We might need to move any props out of the way that the leg wants to land on. Let the right arm rise. So we're going for length. Left heel starts to peel up. So the left hip is rolling perhaps on top of the right. Now we might even find a little rock. So we may drop that left heel closer or maybe all the way back down to the ground, letting that left knee drop back. Your left fingers might be your kickstand. The left heel may rise. You may hold. You may just be finding these little small shifts forward and back. We might just, again, find a place where it feels perfect to hold. Very slowly, very gently, rocking back onto back body. Let that left knee again drop out to the left. The foot may be up much higher this time. Let's slide that right foot up and in. Let the knees roll in towards center. Press into the feet, lift, lengthen, land the hips. So right foot will stay down. Left knee rocks in, left leg rising, push up through the heel. Reach long, long, long through that left leg. Let that left leg drop all the way down. Reach up through the left arm. Find that length. We might pause here. We may nod the head. This side may feel quite different. Maybe we're feeling a little more lengthening or tension somewhere, the hip, the shoulder, the side body, the leg. If and when you feel ready, that right heel may be rising, rolling right hip towards on top of the left, and you might come right back down. We might play with a rock of the ankle, a rock of that right foot. You might bring your right fingertips to the ground in front of the chest as a kickstand. Maybe both arms prefer to stay stretched, reaching overhead. Take your time, slowly, slowly finding your way back onto your back body, letting that right knee drop out to the right. Listening to what your body needs. And we might be sliding that left foot up. We may need to drop the right foot down a little lower to meet the left. We may take both arms again up and overhead. Let's heel toe, take those feet wider, let the knees tip in, but then raise the feet, pull the knees together, drop the feet, lift the hips, sway the hips to the left, and curl up in a little ball on your right side. So using your right upper arm as a pillow, let's plant the left hand, top hand side. Slide the left knee down towards the arch of the right foot. Press into that left hand. Take that right hand wide. Inhale, find a little length. And we may pause here. We may nod the head. You might enhance your rotation towards the right. So we might be walking, right hand wider to the right, just a possibility. You could bend your elbows. You could come back down onto the forearm. Let's gradually rebend that right elbow. We're just reversing. Stack the left knee on top of the right. There's absolutely no hurry. So when you feel ready, rolling onto your back body. So from that right side, we're rocking back to the left side. We'll drop the feet, lift the hips, sway the hips to the right. And starting to roll over onto that left side body, using the left upper arm now as your pillow. Give yourself a few rounds of breath. Let everything slide down towards the left, towards the ground. Then that top knee moves towards the arch of the bottom foot, and we're pressing into that top hand, and we might stay on left forearm. We might come on to both palms, taking that left hand wider. We may find a little sway, a little motion. We might just hold. And then gradually releasing back down onto that left forearm. But this time, instead of rolling onto our back, let's tip it all the way over onto the belly. So feel free to just adjust yourself back onto the mat if you came off. We might tuck the toes, get a little rock through the hips, walk those forearms forward. Heart rising, Sphinx pose. And we may find a little glide from side to side. As we exhale, let's release down. Turn the nose tip towards the right. Point the fingers towards the feet. Let the palms face up. The shoulders are draping towards the floor. Shoulder blades are widening. The jaws soft. Slide the hands forward. Plant the palms to the ground. Let the heart rise, cobra, to the height that you prefer in this moment. Releasing back down, turn the nose to the second side. So perhaps the left, sweep the arms back. shoulders draping. We may gently rock the legs. We may sigh. Let's slide the hands forward, heart rising, slide the legs together, beginning to press the hips back towards the heels. So we're settling back into a child's pose. Now, for some of us, we might bring our forehead to the floor and have the arms fully extended. If this feels like strain, kind of more like compression, not that delicious, go ahead and grab any prop that you have nearby. So maybe we elevate the brow, and that may bring more ease into the neck. The arms may be bent instead of fully extended. And we may massage tension from the brow by rolling from the center of the brow to one side, back to center and over to the other side. We may find center and a small nod. And let's gradually slide the hands in. There's no hurry, take your time. Starting to extend the arms closer to straight so the head will be coming up higher than the heart. Let the body sigh, let the body breathe. And at your own pace, come up high enough that you can comfortably just shift to one side. And if you have any cushioning that you like to use, especially for your knee, go ahead and grab that padding and let's position it so that it will be available for the left knee in particular. And we might grab a couple of blocks. If, like me, you move that ponytail out of the way, feel free to put it back where it keeps the hair out of your way now. So once you've got those props, let's come up to a kneeling position, letting the blocks make the arms longer. And let's step right foot forward between the hands. We might just check in with the lunge, be sensitive with that back knee. Things have been slippery lately. That might add to sensitivity in the body. So we might tip into a little deeper lunge, maybe not. We might find a little shift, a little rock through the hips. And we might gradually start to rise up a little bit higher. Perhaps bring hands onto thighs and we're tipping back, leaning back. So we might be feeling a lot more in that back leg, that left thigh. We may take that left arm up and overhead. Little movements, just movements in the fingers might be impacting and changing sensation in that left leg. We may spin the left palm to face up, grab hold of the forearm with the right hand. We may go for a little more length. We may tuck the ribs, create a bit of rounding, and then press the heel of that left hand, that wrist, like Spider-Man hand, over towards the right on the diagonal. And let's rise back up. Let the arms release down. We may find the blocks and just navigate right leg back. Option to sit back. We might widen the feet and sit on a block. So those inner feet are hugging the block. Letting the eyes rest. Stretching across the tops of the feet. We'll spin palms to face down. And as we shift back up, if we need to move our knee padding more right, go for it. Hands forward, left leg forward. So second side. Check in. Hello, lunge on this side. How's the hip, the thigh, the knee? Maybe we're finding little rocks, little motion. It can be very subtle motion. We may be shifting back and Climbing up higher, so ankle under the knee, perhaps hands on the thigh, shoulders over hips. Check in with that right leg. Maybe we know immediately we need a little more, and we take that right arm up in the air. We might bring movement into the fingers, perhaps very subtle head movement. We may spin that right palm to face up, hold on to the forearm. We can go slowly with the lengthening, still hugging right thigh, right hip forward, left inner leg in towards midline. We may tuck the ribs. We may send that right wrist diagonally left. Let's rise back up. Let the arms release. On the blocks, we'll navigate back to that kneeling position, taking the feet wide if you're sitting on the block. So if you're not going to sit on the block, the feet don't need to create that much space. I usually go pretty wide and then adjust it back in. And take your time, palms to thighs, listen to your knees. You might want cushioning under both knees. So we may rise up, we might just move any block we're sitting on out of our way so we don't trip on that. Hands to hips and pick a side. So we might shift our weight, say to the right, and step the left foot forward. Press down into that left foot and we're rising up to stand. Shift it out. So this might be a nice place just to make sure you have balance without tripping on anything. You can always use a wall if you'd like. Feet wide for a little less balance challenge. Feet together for a little more balance challenge. And let's spin palms forward. Inhale, circle the arms up. The gaze may rise. Releasing the arms down, chin to center. Please find your own pace with your breath. You're listening to the sensations within your body. Inhale, we rise. We're releasing on the exhale, but we're not holding the breath. So you're moving with the rhythm of your breath. Now, if your feet are together and you'd like a little more balance challenge, the heels may rise with the arms, and it might be wobbly, and the heels may release with the arms. It helps to focus on something that won't move. I will wobble and move, and Astragalus is walking around the room too. So we're inhaling, going up, and exhaling, releasing down. So you might use a wall as your next prop or a chair. I have a chair right here. I'm just going to pull it into the camera frame. So you can certainly stay up higher on the wall. I'm going to use the seat of the chair. You could use the back of the chair. So we might take our hands onto that chair seat and we may walk our feet back. We're all going to be a little different. So feet hips different, distance or wider. If those hamstrings are tighter, you're going to put more bend in your knees. If they're more open, we're definitely walking further back, and we might start with bent knees. We're going for long side bodies, and we may be working legs and arms closer to straight, head centered, so you're not craning to look at the device like I just was. You might be feeling this quite a bit through the shoulders. We might bend one knee and then the other. I'm going to exaggerate it a lot. You might do it that much. It can be much more subtle. Let's bend the knees, start to rise back up. So we might walk in a little bit closer to the chair, but I'm just going to demonstrate a taller option. So again, you could be at the wall. This chair, the slatted back chair, has got a few options. So you might start all the way at the top. For some of us, that might even be too tall, kind of depending on the height of the chair and our height. But we might walk it back. Now, if we have a lot of rounding in our back, I'm exaggerating it. Try putting the bend in your knees and send those butt bones backwards to work the rounding out of the low back. Now we may turn our toes and our hips to the right. So you're keeping your hands on your chair, your wall, your counter, whatever you're using for a prop. We're lengthening that right side body. If you took your toes to face the right, let's walk the toes back to center. And again, check in with the back. Do we have a lot of rounding? We might bend the knees, send those sits bones back again. We may need to lift the shoulders if we're very flexible in the shoulders. And we'll start to turn the toes now to the second side. So that may be your left, sorry, it's a butt shot. Lengthening left side body. We may bend the knees and walk the toes forward and gradually walk all the way back in. So maybe you felt it a lot in the back body. For a lot of us, we felt it more in the shoulders. So go ahead and you can move your chair off to the side now if you happen to brought one nearby your mat in any way. And we may just find a short edge of the mat, whichever one you're comfortable with. Spin the palms forward. Let the arms rise, the gaze may rise. Bend the knees as much as you like as we exhale, moving down into a forward bend. The head may nod. Let the head be heavy. The head may circle. We may stretch the jaw. We might even decide to keep our hands on blocks, just a possibility. And if you have the very squishy blocks, maybe not. Some blocks are quite squishy, like marshmallows. You might bring your hands to the ground and walk the feet all the way back into a down face dog. Now again, if we are more rounded in the back, try lifting your heels, bending your knees, and send those sits bones back. So we're looking for those long side bodies, head may nod. Some of us will be sending heels closer to the ground. We may be pedaling the feet, shifting through the hips. And then let's take a walk, bring the feet forward, find your blocks or hands on the wall or a chair seat. And let's have right foot forward and start to navigate that left leg back. So that left heel may be rising. We might pivot the left heel towards the right. This is where socks might be a little cumbersome. You might need to slide socks off unless they have the traction nubs. We're working that right leg closer to straight. We might find a little sway of the hips. We might widen that right hip, getting into the right inner thigh. And then we may play with rolling that right hip back. That may bring it more into the back of the thigh or outer thigh for you. The head may nod. Consider bending, lunging into that front knee, and we may spin our blocks higher. We may climb up onto the thigh. We may bring hands to the hips. One or both arms may rise. Slide the throat back, crown of the head is high. Let's release the hands back down towards the props. Stepping left foot forward alongside the right, and maybe removing right foot sock as well before we navigate that right leg back. Now, if you feel like you need to do any little movements, like you're applying the WD-40 before taking bigger movements, please do. So we might be pivoting that right heel over towards the left, and we may be extending that left leg. Now, perhaps we sway or widen that left hip to the left, and that might feel really good, like a great stretch in the inner thigh for some of us. Some days, sometimes. We might roll that outer left hip back and see where we sense things then. We may nod the head. Bending into that front knee, we may spin the blocks up higher, hands may find the thigh. We may widen that right hip. Toes may fan and the arms may rise, the gaze may rise. Let's release the hands back down. Hands may find the blocks. We may be peeling that back heel up, tap, 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 step, maybe even lift that right foot in. We'll roll ourselves down into a standing forward bend. The hips may sway a little side to side. Maybe we're noticing that we're feeling differences right to left in our forward bend as well. We may navigate the hands gradually, slowly in, put bend into the knees, forearms onto the thighs, let the hips drop lower, and take your time, root down to rise up, shift it out. So look around your space. If you have a nice piece of wall, no window, no cactus, go ahead and bring the short edge of your mat up to it. If you have a chair seat, use a chair seat instead. So we might be bringing the short edge of the mat. I'm going to use this door up to a wall. And if it is at all chilly and you have a blanket or socks, put the socks on, but you might want the blanket as a leg drape for insulation too. You might use a pillow or a blanket in a rectangular fold for your hips. So let's consider coming on the back body. If your hamstrings in the forward bend were quaking and talking to you a lot, you're going to start further away from the wall or use a chair with bent knees. You can certainly bring your side butt right up against the wall if those hamstrings are feeling long and open, and just bring the legs straight up the wall. Because this door is pretty old and I suspect fragile, I'm going to take my feet super wide here to press into the frame to lift my hips, but maybe you can press your feet right into the wall at about hips distance and then settle your hips back onto your prop. So those heels may be resting on the wall. They may be resting on a chair. The arms may spread wide. You may prefer energetically to gather the arms in, or maybe just because the floor is cold. Let the hands rest on the body. Coming back to the breath. Exploring an elongated, comfortably elongated exhalation. And we may let the legs continue to rest straight up the wall, or we may slide the little toe sides of the feet down the wall, letting the knees open out wide to the side. We may be resting here a while longer. We may be rolling the knees into the chest, raising the legs back up the wall. We may take the arms overhead and carefully slide the soles of the feet down the wall, rolling off the wall to rest on right side body. Taking your time to press into that top hand, we may let the eyes rest soft and closed, supporting ourselves back to a seat. And as we settle in, letting the palms rest on the body and rubbing hands together, cupping the hands or hovering them before the eyes. Take a deep inhale and exhale, release. Rubbing the hands together, let's place a hand over the belly, a hand over the heart, deep inhale, and letting it go. We may slide both hands to the heart, sealing our practice with sound. Deep inhale through the nose. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing this practice.